Airbender 1 comes with a starter set, or there's a starter set for it. I think the Final Fantasy 14 one has a starter set. I mean, like you can pick a flavor. Like, there's a Power Rangers TTRPG. There's also a Transformers, a G.I. Joe, and a My Little Pony TTRPG. And then there's a 5th book, which lets you combine them all into one game.
Hasbro, you greedy, greedy fricks.
They are. They are. But honestly, it was kind of fun watching, like, a unicorn impale somebody while a Transformer tanker truck rolls by. Like, there's a guy with a machine gun. Like, I played one game with that rule set where I was a player, and it was fine. It was a good time. It was just very odd. So I think that's where I would suggest you start. Aku, find a system or find a flavor that you like, right? If you're really big into sci-fi, there's plenty of sci-fi RPGs. If you're into horror, there's plenty of horror RPGs. If you're into fantasy, there's plenty of fantasy out there, and everything in between, right? One game that I really want to play in, but I don't want to run, is the Cyberpunk TTRPG. Cyberpunk Red specifically, but any of them really. Because I want to live in that world. I want to play in that world. I don't want to have to create that world. It seems like it's a lot of work. So, yeah, just as an example.
I also, if I may chime in, Mr. DM.
Of course. Sir, no, God, yes.
My dear sir.
You're a guest. Of course you
can. I think, like, maybe you've touched on this before I got here, but this is also where, like, you talk to the people that you're going to be playing with.
Yes.
Like a session -1, even at that point, where it's like, okay, well, if you have the ideas of who you're playing with, you should probably also be asking them, like, hey, what kind of game would you want to play? Like, if people want to play D&D, okay, you starter kit D&D. But if people want to, like, try other flavors of something, like, go off that first too.
Yeah, there's nothing worse, I think, than having a misalignment of players out the gate, right? And there will sometimes be these problems that can arise that you will have to deal with on the day-to-day. But honestly, if Jazzy's like, I'm in it for, like, body horror, that's the kind of game that I'm wanting. I want to see, like, blood and guts and, you know, viscera, very grimdark, like Warhammer 40k. That's what I'm here for. Jazzy, the 40k man. And Ashwood's like, yo, dude, I think that the My Little Pony RPG sounds great. You can marry those two ideas, but it's gonna look
dark ponies.
Yeah, I mean, we sure, right?
All right, everyone, we're God, what's that? My Little Dashie, or whatever the other.
Sure.
We're reading Fallout Equestria.
Yeah, right.
Oh my god.
So there are definitely ways that you can, like, bridge that gap, right? But if Jazzy doesn't want to play a pony game and he only wants Warhammer 40k, Blood, Guts, Viscera, etc., there's going to be a mismatch there. So much to Jazzy's point, talking to your players beforehand and going, hey, if you have an idea already, you can come to them and be like, hey, gang, I'm thinking of running Dungeons and Dragons. How do we feel about that? And they'll be like, yeah, or no, or I don't know. And you can kind of go from there. It is that guy there. Thank you so much for the follow. Welcome in. We're talking tabletop role-playing games and how to start. We're also going to get into the first creation that I made upon my return to TTRPGs, just to kind of give an example of, like, how simple it can be, simple but complex it can be if you want to homebrew. What I mean by homebrew is where you make the campaign yourself. One of the perks to that, here, let me just do this real quick. Let me just display capture. It is. All right, sorry for the flashbang. So, I know, I'm sorry. I wish I could turn it into dark mode. Windows 10 apparently doesn't have that.
We're still using MS Paint. Bro, where's Paint 3D?
I don't want to use Paint 3D. So you've got
Photoshop?
No, God, I'm not going to pay for that.
Did I ever say anything about paying for things, Dane?
No, but Jazzy, I'm a good upstanding...
Home Depot. Oh, Home Drew versus...
That's a B, sir. A D is this way.
Ore Drew us.
I hate you so much. Module. I don't think I spelled that right, but we're gonna go with
This
it.
is actually my favorite epic rap battles of history is Homebrew versus Module. Homebrew Drew versus Module Mike.
This is my new druid, Homebrew Drew.
Yeah.
Homebrew Drew is actually pretty great. I'm not gonna lie. Hey, thank you so
Don't
much
be
for
a
chatting.
Homebrew Drew, everyone. Be a Module Mike.
Dye the canvas dark gray. I mean,
Don't do that.
that is a little bit. Ah, Module.
Oh, I love Modelo.
So yeah, basically speaking, homebrew is the act of making everything yourself, right? You make everything from scratch. If there's a man, that's the same color. If there's a man, you
There's a
decide
man.
you decide who that man is, whether he's happy or angry and happy, whether he has a sword.
That's Homebrew Drew.
I'm not an artist. Spice and Rose could do this better. Whether there's a sword or like
Man.
I don't know, hot dog.
Let me bust out my bamboo tablet and we'll get a joined canvas up in here.
Could you
We'll all just do our scribbles.
just drawfee it up, but like bad? at least from my perspective. It reminds me of when they invite like people who aren't strictly artists on, and they're like they're the describers because they couldn't be the artists. That's what I could do. I could do that for you. Yeah, absolute nitrum. That's a good point too. In your session 0 or session -1, make sure boundaries too, right? Like if I'm not ready to have a game with lots of blood and guts in it, that's something that the DM should know. And as the DM, you kind of have to ask about it. And to be clear, I'm going to be using the term DM, but I mean it interchangeably. Even though it is Dungeon Master, I mean it the same as I do a Game Master, GM, a Storyteller, ST, a Big Shot, BS, whatever you want to call it. There are a lot of different names for it, but as a newer DM, I'm going to do a mix of
big
modules.
shot up in here.
Yeah, we do. And then obviously we're gonna draw Module Mike too. He's a dude, and he's got a book that he bought at his local game store or online, but preferably not on Amazon. And he's
Or he
happy.
obtained it online through
Sure,
other methods.
that's true.
Can he have big eyebrows?
There you go.
Thank you.
And he's got I don't know,
Yellow shoes.
Yellow shoes. Can he be blue and a hedgehog?
That's right.
Even though his shoes are red and white. He could be
And-
Tom Bombadil. Tom Bombadil has yellow
And,
boots.
and everyone, this is another really good example. As the player, you could just make your DM do anything.
That's kind of true to a degree.
They're at your whim.
That is kind of true to a degree. As a DM, you want to be accommodating to your players. However, that can go a step too far where your players do start to take advantage of that, and you want to make sure that your fun is also being protected. Yes, as the DM, in my opinion, you're there to ensure that the players have a good time, but not at the cost of you also having a good time. There needs to be sort of a balance of sorts.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen this a lot. Maybe not as more in the recent years because tabletop gaming has become more mainstream and popular throughout a wider audience. But I feel like in the olden days, you would have a lot of like, okay, well, the player's fun comes first. And stuff like that. So like the DM is also a player in the game. It is a collaborative storytelling game.
Absolutely.
And the DM is still a player in that telling of the story. even if they have like a certain control or manipulations of things that players don't.
100%.
There's still an equal give and take there that needs to happen. It obviously the DM is not God, it is not player versus DM type games, and that just leads to toxic relationships and bad leads to bad Reddit posts somewhere online.
Yeah.
So you definitely have to like have that conversation with people.
100%. Couldn't agree more. You know, I have a good time when I'm DMing, when my friends have a good time, even if my plans don't go to scale, right? Even if they don't go to plan. If things take a left turn, you know, as a homebrew Drew myself, let's say I'm setting up a scene and Jazzy's like, I take off into the woods running. It's like, okay, well, now when the scene was looking this way, we are now hard pivoting that direction to see what's going to happen to Jazzy. You know, so you see him running through the woods. Where is he going? What does he discover in the woods? And there's sort of like a social contract here where your players and you are agreeing, as Jazzy said, to make a communal storytelling game. You're both here to tell a story, to have fun, to roll dice, to eat pretzels and drink beer or what have you, and have a good time. But everyone needs to have a good time. It should not come at the cost of any one player's, which does include the DM. I could not agree more. Could not come at the one player's fun, if that makes sense. Yeah, and when things get derailed and chaotic, that's when some of the best things happen, you know? I had a player pick up a magic item they didn't know was magic at the time, and it swapped them and another player, so I just had them trade character sheets for a little bit. And it was a temporary thing. It was not permanent, and that can go awry too. Some people really do not care to lose control of their characters. But both players were in on it and then had kind of like a fun time with it, and you know, made jokes at each other's expenses, and we did one combat like that, and then they switched back, and that was kind of a fun moment. You know, it was this little bit of chaos, manufactured chaos, but chaos nonetheless. Hi, Oxox.
Hey, Oxox.
Hey, Oxox.
Favorite campaign was a homebrew, and I doubt I'll ever get to experience a game like that again, except one of the players just threw over the table and had their character go home 3 episodes before the climax of the story. That's a shame. And that's another thing, right? As a player,
I mean, I imagine there was a reason.
Yeah.
But
I mean, one would think, right?
I would hope there was a point to doing that other than, I'm done.
Yeah, bye.
Blah, blah.
As a player or a DM or both, you need to be communicative with the other parties, right? You need to be communicative with your fellow players, and you need to be communicative with your fellow storytellers. Like, if you are, you know, if you've got a guy who's making a lot of like dumb jokes in game, and at first it's fine and then it's not fine, you know, that is a conversation that you can have as an adult person in a mature and respectful way of like, hey, Jim, I did find this funny at first, but I think it's kind of hitting me in a weird way. Is there any way we could tone things down a little bit? Or is there any way we could make a shift to a different kind of humor? I'm not trying to ruin your fun over mine. I'm not trying to prioritize my fun over yours, but it's just hitting me a little bit weird, so I wanted to come to you as a friend and as a fellow player to see what we could do about it, right? Or if there's anything we could do about it. And Jim may be like, no, I think it's funny, piss off. And then you can make a decision whether or not to stab Jim in the neck or leave the game or, you know, whatever. Well, that sounds like a little bit of character player difference.
That is
Wild.
Such a good point, though. I'm thinking this is obviously, as is the case of tabletop gaming, anecdotes are going to pop up along the way. But that is such a good point of like continuing with the like, you need to be on the same topic you need to be on the same conversations with your players and with each other as a group, because like character motivations matter for like, why does character A want to do the thing, but like this is also on the player's end, like they need to just like suspend their own wants for the betterment of the group for the most part, especially in moments like that. Like